Before we get started, I need to talk about the new Plethora X1 Neo pedal. This was announced in January 2026 when I was halfway through making this video. It is the same pedal, but it's a different color scheme and has a slightly altered logo. I think it looks great. If this is more your style, it should be out from sometime in March 2026, maybe a little bit later than that. If you like the original style, I have seen a couple of places that are doing a special deal on this, so you might be able to pick that up for a good price somewhere. Everything you see in the video is going to be relevant for both pedals, so let's take a look. Hey everybody, today we're looking at the Plethora X1, tcelectronic single pedal size TonePrint loader which stores 14 different TC TonePrint effects and features a mash foot switch. When we say 14 different TonePrint effects, that's not just 14 TonePrint slots. We're talking about the functionality of any combination of 14 different effects pedals stored in 7 banks with 2 slots each. Let's do a super quick unboxing. The packaging's pretty eco-friendly. We've got a cardboard box, a plastic bag around the pedal, and a minimal quick start guide. Looking at the quick start guide, there's a lot of compliance information. The easy way to spot the useful part is to look for the big pedal logo. If you want to look at the full manual, there's a QR code on the front of the quick start guide that takes you to the product page on TC's website. Under the Buy Now links is the product library section. Expand the documentation area and you can download the manual. It says Quick Start Guide, but there's a little bit more than what you get in the box. I've also put a link to the product page in the description. Comparing the Plethora X1 to existing TC pedals, the big change on the front is the LED screen. On the top we have the standard 9V power, but it's 250 milliamps draw now, where it was 100 milliamps on old pedals. And we have a USB-C socket instead of the old style USB connector. We also have this connect button for Bluetooth with mobile devices. You'll want to remember it's the last thing on the right when you're trying to connect and your Plethora is on the pedal board. It pretty much lines up with the B on the knob on the front. So if you think B, Bluetooth, that could be helpful. On the back, we no longer have a battery compartment screw, so you're definitely going to need an external power supply. That's not surprising with a 250 milliamp power draw. That would eat a 9V battery very quickly. When you plug in the Plethora X1 for the first time, it will automatically do a factory reset. I'll do one now so the pedal's in the same state. If you want or need to do a factory reset at any stage, here's a quick guide. After the factory reset, these are the effects that will be stored in the 14 slots. There's a lot to hold in your head here, so I tend to think of them like this: 6 modulation effects, 3 pitch effects, 3 dynamics effects, and 2 time-based effects. When you change to another effect, the screen will show more information for about 5 seconds, and then it goes away, and you only see the effect name and the color bar that indicates the type of effect. There's usually 3 pieces of information that will disappear. Probably the most important one is at the bottom below the color bar, and that's the name of the current tone print. So for reverb, you'll see things like plate, hall, room, shimmer. Immediately above the effect name is the branding for that effect. So flashback delay, Corona chorus, pipeline tap tempo, Hall of Fame reverb. The screen is definitely less cluttered once it goes away, so I'm kind of glad they made that decision. The last one's a little bit deeper, and it describes the current function of the mash switch, which is set per effect type. So for reverb, this is initially set as mash, but there are lots of options including latching, momentary and mash, and then there's some that are specific for effects like tap tempo and ramp, and these can be displayed in the top left or the top right, or both, or neither. So we'll look at those as we explore the effects. We have 3 knobs to alter the effect parameters labelled A, B and C. They will do different things depending on the current effect and the active tone print. The C knob is quite often the effect level knob, but it's not always that. The screen will tell you what's happening when you change something, and it could be 1 parameter or more than 1. Sometimes you'll turn a knob and nothing really happens until you sweep past the current value. This is called parameter pickup. It's a setting that you can disable. If you don't like it, I think it's a good idea. Between the A and B knobs is a toggle switch. Moving this up or down will access the available tone prints for the current effect. Toggle the switch up or down until the tone print you want is selected in the display. The 4th knob is a selector switch that changes between effects. There's 7 banks, each with 2 effect slots. tcelectronic calls these banks boards, which makes more sense on the X3 and X5 models, but not so much on the X1. I tend to call them banks. You can only use one effect at a time on the X1, so you have multiple effects available to use, but only one can be active. Switching between banks takes milliseconds. Bank 1 is the Hall of Fame 2 reverb with a mash switch enabled. Bank 2 is the Flashback 2 delay with a tap tempo switch. Bank 3 is Pipeline tremolo with a tap tempo switch. Bank 4 is Corona chorus with a standard latching switch that turns the pedal on and off. Bank 5 is Viscous Vibe with a ramp switch. Bank 6 is Brainwaves pitch shifter with a mash switch. Bank 7 looks completely different and is a little confusing at first. We have a double coloured bar which is split in the middle and A and B above that. And there's no effect name, just classic at the bottom. Let's unpack this. The colour bar is a bit of a red herring. It indicates that this effect is the sub and up octaver effect. That's the only effect that is not a single colour bar. The A and B tells us for this bank, if we hold the foot switch down, we will switch from the A slot, which is currently highlighted, to the effect in the B slot. This slot has the helix phaser effect. This is how we access the other 7 slots. There's a little bit of a trade-off when using the AB foot switch mode, so let's cover that now. You have to enable AB mode to use an effect that's in slot B. You won't see the effect name, just the colour bar, so if you're colourblind, that might not be a great experience. To enable AB mode, or any other foot switch mode, press and hold the foot switch and then switch the toggle switch up or down to select the desired mode. You can't use mash, tap tempo, ramp or momentary foot switch modes on a bank with AB enabled. Tapping the switch will turn the effect on or off and holding it will switch between the A and B slots. Logically, you can't assign these foot switch modes to any effect in slot B because you need to enable AB mode to access the effect. So any effect you want to use these foot switch modes on needs to be moved to a slot A in a bank where preferably you don't need to use slot B very often. To move effects, you have to use the Toneprint app, which is available on desktop and mobile, which I'm not going to have time to cover in this video. I did want to talk about 2 extra effects that are not in the manual, but I did hint about earlier in the video. These are available from the Toneprint app. The first of these extra effects is the Alter Ego Vintage Echo Delay, which I've always wanted to get one of these, and I think it sounds pretty great. And then the second one is the Infinite Sample Sustainer, which for this you do need to do a firmware update using the Toneprints app. I've recorded a short musical idea for each effect. I've just picked out Toneprints I liked. Everything's recorded in stereo, so if you have headphones or good speakers, I recommend using those. Post-production is very minimal, so this should give you a good indication of the sounds. I hope you enjoyed that. Let's talk about what I like about the pedal. The single pedal format and keeping the same design DNA as the original pedals. It feels really familiar. It's pretty amazing how much they crammed in here without resorting to deep menu diving. The effects on board sound just like the original pedals, like you would expect. They absolutely hit the mark, creating a usable collection of legacy tone prints here. The stereo effects sound great too. When the pedal's on my board, I'm definitely going to be using it in mono, but if I want to record something lush or ambient or put keys or a synth through it, I'm definitely going to hook it up in stereo. If you don't like the idea of using an app to manage the tone prints, you can still access all the core sounds just by using the pedal. If you do want to use the TonePrint app, it's just download it and connect, and that's it. There's no subscription model, there's no creating a profile or anything like that. I love that they went with, here's a tool you can use, go and have fun. USB-C is also a great choice. I found I was using this more than Bluetooth when using the app on my phone, which is interesting. Were there any surprises? With the effects, yes. I didn't think I would like uni-vibe as much as I did. It feels good and it's fun to play. It's not a sound I would use every day, but it's definitely something I'll use in the future. Vibrato was also great. It feels a bit like a chorus, but it's much gentler. Chorus can sometimes get a bit too thick and it chokes the sound of your guitar, so this is a really nice option to have. Hypergravity Compressor has a tone print called Lead Comp, and it's a monster. It's a bit like a solo boost and a compressor kind of all rolled into one, and it sounds so huge. It's not subtle, but sometimes it's exactly what you want. Shimmer Reverb is an effect that I've not wanted to use in the past because it sounds a bit brittle and harsh in the top range whenever I've heard it. But when I used it with a nylon string guitar, it sounded a bit special, so I had to keep it in. I did roll down the tone a little bit on the guitar, so maybe that's part of that too. Let's talk about what I don't like, negative opinions. I don't like the A-B switching UI. There's no indication of what's in slot B if I'm switching from slot A. I feel like they could have split the color bar in the middle, maybe in A-B mode or something like that. I wasn't involved in the design or the testing or the focus groups or any of that work, so it's quite easy to complain from the sidelines without having any idea about how much thought or time or discussion has already happened. So I would much rather have it how it is than if they decided that A-B mode was too hard to implement and we just got 7 tone prints and that was it, and anything else you had to use the Tone app for. That would have been a much worse decision. So keeping it in perspective, I don't like it, but I'm still going to keep using the pedal. There's a nitpicking thing that I spotted in the manual where there's 2 different effects that are listed as tremolo effects in the third bank or board, which is wrong because the shaker is a vibrato. Now, I understand that in guitar land, there's a bit of confusion around vibrato and tremolo, and there's kind of interchangeability sometimes, but it's right in the Tone app. It's right on the pedal. It should be vibrato in the manual as well. The third thing is that there's 3 effects in the TonePrint series that are notably absent from the Plethora. The first one's the Petrucci Dreamscape, then there's the Arena Reverb, and then the T2 Reverb. I don't know what the deal is there, whether it's licensing or what. I know there's some common tone prints between these and other pedals, but it would be nice to see Arena's Royal, Parliament, Passage and Season tone prints and T2's Ambient Reverb tone prints available. The last negative is there's so many usable effects, it's hard to decide where to put this pedal on your pedal board. I want to put pitch, harmony, and probably uni-vibe before dirt. I generally like modulation effects after dirt. I like delay and reverb after modulation, or maybe in an effects loop. I guess you could solve this with a programmable switching system, but I don't need one for anything else, and they're not cheap, and they eat pedal board space, so maybe I just need to move it around a bit and see where it settles. Do I recommend this pedal, and who is it for? I do recommend the pedal, but with the proviso that if you like simple pedals, this might not be your thing. I wouldn't say it's technically complex, but the breadth of the functionality might be a challenge for some people to get the most out of it. I think of this pedal like a Swiss Army knife. It has many different tools, but you can only use one at a time. If you like a lot of options without taking too much space, then this might work for you. If you're in a cover band or maybe a musical theatre thing where you need specific sounds for different songs, this could be a good choice. If you want to try lots of different guitar effects and you prefer pedals over computer plugins, again, this pedal covers a lot of ground. If you heard 2 or more sounds in the demo and you thought, oh, I like that, I should get something like that, then just go and get it. This is where I sit. I always wanted the Alter Ego pedal. I've been thinking about the Hall of Fame for years on and off. The uni-vibe was interesting. Where I am, the Plethora X1 is slightly more than a Hall of Fame 2 pedal on its own. So I just went and got it, and I'm really glad I did. And now I've made a video about it. I hope you found this interesting or helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. Thanks for watching.